app, Sirius XM Channel 80 and ESPN2. I'm Matt Keyshawn. Will be with us in a minute. He's JWill. I'm Freddie Coleman in for Max Kellerman. Before we talk about that whole Kevin Durant potential breakup situation, Kyrie Irving, weigh in at 888 say ESPN, 888-729-3776. Also keep weighing in on Twitter at Real J Williams and at Coleman ESPN. Who is the best NBA duo that broke up way too early? 888-729-3776. All this is stemming from the report that Christian Winfield, who does a great job covering the NBA and the Brooklyn Nets of the New York Daily News, that he put out a story, and I'm going to read a part of it, Jay, that says, last summer, I'm reading it word for word, last summer I got a tip I didn't want to believe. A source familiar with the inner workings of the Brooklyn Nets roster told me James Harden would leave Brooklyn, followed by Kyrie Irving, then ultimately Kevin Durant, a purported course of events that would undoubtedly send the Nets back to the bottom of the Eastern Conference standings after just 3 seasons in the spotlight. I wonder, JWill, when he decided to leave the Four Horsemen with the Golden State Warriors, it was him, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and also Draymond Green. He signed up and hitched his wagon with Kyrie Irving, and I said, maybe that's the last dude you should be hitching your wagon to, but Kevin Durant did it, and if this situation unravels, Kevin Durant has nobody to blame but himself.
I don't think there's any drama here, Freddie. Okay. I think this is manufactured, and I get it.
Why do you think it's manufactured?
Well, because first off, like knowing KD and how he deals with things, like, and for a lot of people, when you're done with your job, you get a chance to go on a 2-week vacation, you're not calling your job. hey, just calling the check-in job, making sure everything's okay. Like, this is Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant is an anomaly. Like, he's a mystery. He's different. And a lot of times, him not saying anything is him saying a lot. Okay. But KD ghosts. He goes away sometimes. And there's nothing wrong with going away and taking your mind off the game and just kicking it, hanging out. I think it creates leverage. Now, I would be shocked if the Brooklyn Nets, if Kyrie does opt out, that they wouldn't sign him to a max. Yeah, now there is the looming, there is the looming thought of, if there is a spike with COVID, how would Kyrie deal with that? And I don't know all the nuances of the CBA, but I would assume that there would be some type of stipulation in his contract to some degree about missing time for non-basketball related injuries. Okay. But still, I think they will be able to fight that with the union and the league. So I think it's a really interesting thing. First off, I see Kyrie opting in. I don't see Kyrie opting out.
Exactly.
He's going to get a lot of money if he were to opt in, and considering everything he came off of this year, I don't think the market would demand what people would naturally think Kyrie is worth because of what's came along with the narrative built around him. But I also see the potential of this year's team. So when you think about Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, Joe Harris being back on the court, being healthy, who gives you a tough-nosed defender, a guy that can space the floor out and shoot the ball at a high clip. You got Ben Simmons coming back off his surgery, which he's a defensive-minded starter, a point guard. That is exactly what they need. He gives you an alternative version of James Harden. People are going to question his lack of shooting, but still, it's the demeanor and it's the way he pushes the tempo of the game. Seth Curry, they have size. They'll probably add some additional pieces.
Right.
This team is going to be one of the favorites in the East to win it.
Here's the deal with that. And by the way, you mentioned about Kevin Durant ghosting people because part of that article written by Christian Winfield, New York Daily News, that he has reportedly has not talked to anybody in the Nets front office since their season ended after losing in 4 straight to the Boston Celtics in the Eastern Conference first-round playoff series. Here's the deal with the Brooklyn Nets. The narrative is very easy to say, point the finger at Kyrie Irving. It's a lazy narrative as far as I'm concerned.
Agreed.
Because there's so many different pieces that can go into a winning basketball team. I'm not just talking about on the court. I'm talking about off the court. But I will say this when it comes to Kevin Durant. He has to be the guy in Brooklyn. He has to find a way to bring everybody together and try to get them on the same page. As mercurial as Kyrie Irving is, Kevin Durant knew what he signed up for by aligning forces with him and leaving Golden State and leaving that situation, leaving that Valhalla. So if you're going to do that, you as the dude on this organization, whether you believe Christian Winfield's report or not, if you're going to make this work in Brooklyn, it can't just be about waiting for Kyrie, in my opinion, JWill. It's got to be Kevin Durant say, what can we do to make sure we're all reading the same book? Because, and you know this, any championship team, you can't have guys reading different chapters or guys reading different pages or guys reading a different book. And that's gone on with the Brooklyn Nets. Whether it's their fault or nobody's fault, they got to find a way to have everybody on the same plane to make sure this is going to work to the way they want it to, and that's winning a championship.
Well, can we talk, Freddie, with some practicality here? for a second, because I know that's a rarity within the sports world, right? Full of hot takes and stuff like that. Man, so patience is in such short supply sometimes.
Absolutely.
Within sports,
There's
right?
no doubt.
So we watched the Boston Celtics get to multiple Eastern Conference Finals. People were ready to break them up. It looks like they're on their way to the NBA Finals, a legit shot to beat Golden State. So I'll just say this very quickly. When LeBron James left Cleveland to go to Miami, a lot of a sense was like that him going to college, him learning how to win at a high clip,
I heard that.
how franchise is going to be ran with Pat Riley, ownership, all that stuff, how to lead a team where the expectations are, not one, not two, not three, not four, and deal with that. When he came back to Cleveland, you felt like he was a different version of who he was before he left, and he was more prepared to do more. That is essentially KD leaving OKC, going to Golden State, playing with Stephen Curry, playing with Klay Thompson, being part of Bob Myers in that situation. Now, it didn't work out there ultimately in the end because he felt like he got misdiagnosed. Even though he won 2 championships, it did work out to a degree. Mm-hmm. But now he's going through the bumps and the bruises of this being his own team and now learning how to handle that expectation with him being his team. And it's very similar. So I think you're still patient if you're KD. And regardless of the media trying to inflame the situation,
sure,
which media always does, you stay the course, but you do have to say, I'm the one driving this bus. It is mine, and own it. And that's what I think you're going to see from KD next year.
Because we know the old line, if it bleeds, it leads, especially when you got certain particulars and certain people along the lines of a Kevin Durant and a Kyrie Irving. It is Keyshawn, JWill, and Max on ESPN Radio and ESPN2. Let's bring in Bobby Marks, ESPN NBA front office insider. Hit him on Twitter at Bobby Marks 42, joining us here on ESPN Radio. Bobby, I know you read the report by Christian Winfield, New York Daily News. I'm sure you heard what JWill and I had to say about this. It is a very hard
Freddie, I just want you to know, Bobby cut me.
Oh, he did?
When I was with the Nets. I just want to kick off the interview that way. I mean, we haven't really talked about it openly. I just I like to kick off the interview that way.
Okay.
It's cathartic for me to talk about it openly.
If it's not going to be good for you, JWill, you can just drink the red cup, and I'll just talk to Bobby by myself.
Bobby's my man. What's up, Bobby?
Probably the hardest transaction that I've probably made in my career, as far as the cutting you and seeing you come in for that during training camp and everything. Yeah,
doesn't make me feel better.
It doesn't make him feel better, but Brooklyn Nets fans are trying to feel better about this whole report by Christian Winfield, New York Daily News. The easy question is, how do you see things playing out between Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and the Nets? But how much of a hard answer, Bobby, is that for you to bring out there?
Yeah, I mean, I think Kyrie will be back. I think it's just a matter of if it's 2 years, 3 years, maybe 4 years as far as the length of the contract. I think when you lose in the first round like Brooklyn did, there's going to be speculation for the next 2 months here as far as what the future of Kyrie Irving is going to be. And when Kevin Durant, committed last offseason, that gave him kind of a seat at the table as far as to be part of the decision-making process. So I would think that any decision regarding Kyrie's future, Kevin will be part of, not the final say, but, Sean Marks will keep, Kevin Durant in the loop here. It's hard for me to think that all of a sudden, and I know they said, culture. Like, it's hard to go back to where they were back in 2018, 2017, when you sign, trade for superstars, sign superstars. I think you could try to emulate that a little bit here, but I don't know if it's going to be a hardline stance where it's basically a 1 year max or 1 year with a player option here. I think something eventually will be worked out. I think both sides will agree what's best for them. And Irving will be back in a Nets uniform. I think it's just going to be a matter of kind of what the length of the contract will be.
Hey, Bobby, I'm curious because I've heard, Stephen A. talk about this, and I know you can't do this with the CBA, but he proposed I would sign Kyrie to 1 year deals all the way through his career. But, are there any stipulations that a team could put in about non-basketball related injuries that take you away from the game that could probably lessen the risk for the Brooklyn Nets?
Well, I mean, there's a clause in there, but that's really just for jet skiing, that type of clause there as far as for non-basketball activities here. I think what we started to see is, certainly players have started, teams have put, games clauses in their contracts as far as games played. It triggers maybe the second year in the contract as far as the amount being guaranteed. So if Brooklyn signed Irving to a 2-year contract, but he had to play, let's say 60 games in the first year for that second year to become fully guaranteed, I think there's certainly ways to go about doing that. It's a little bit different than, NFL contracts where you can cut a player and, you're really just dealing with guaranteed money here. So there's ways to go about doing it. I mean, every contract can be negotiated here, except for basically rookie scale contracts. It's just teams have basically kind of elected not to do that. And I think what you're seeing is teams in the next CBA want the NBA to basically kind of become big brother and put the rules in there for them to enforce.
ESPN NBA front office insider Bobby Marks. Hit him on Twitter, Bobby Marks42, joining us, and Keyshawn, JWill, and Max on ESPN Radio. We haven't really talked about Steve Nash and his role, because as much as people use Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving because of those names, Bobby, a lot of this could fall on Steve Nash. How much could he be a scapegoat if things don't work out in Brooklyn, no matter what Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving decide to do?
Well, I think what you're probably going to see, and there's certainly been reports about it, you'll probably see some type of shakeup with his coaching staff. I think you'll probably see a lot of different faces there as far as who's going to be on the bench, and that's, if you're not going to let go of the head coach, that's usually that's something that front office can have a handle on as far as changing the parts on him. Yeah, I mean, Steve will be under the microscope next year, no doubt about it, especially if if Ben Simmons comes back healthy and this team is intact, and they do get off to a struggle and are not playing what we maybe thought they could be here. So, we're going to enter year 3. I would love to see him with a full season. Usually we don't get to do that as far as with a full healthy roster here. And without that, they'll be, Steve will be, certainly under pressure as far as to produce. And as I said, I think you're starting to see that as far as the coaching staff starting to shift a little bit.
Hey, Bobby, knowing KD and of KD for as long as you have, are you making this, if you're part of the front office for the Brooklyn Nets, is this a bigger deal that's becoming bigger and bigger, that you have not talked to Kevin Durant since the end of the season?
No, I don't think. I think everyone needs to have a cooling off period. I really do. I think you just need to let guys. I know they were eliminated, I guess, in late April and we're in late May. I do think there needs to be a period where guys just need to get away from everything. That includes the teams that are in the conference finals once they lose. I know the timetable is a little bit different because we've got the draft coming up and then we've got free agency here. So I think there'll be eventually in the next. I saw Kevin was basically all over the world as far as watching basketball games here. So I think probably sometime in mid-June there probably is a conversation here. But I do think that